The Pentagon and the White House have been reacting. I want to go over to Fraser Jackson in Washington, D.C., our correspondent there. The United States is saying it unequivocally condemns these attacks by Hamas terrorists. What is the White House reaction? Fraser.
Well, we have multiple reactions today. Joe Biden has said to have been speaking with Prime Minister Netanyahu and monitoring the situation closely. We are expecting him to make an address on the situation very soon. In that address, we're expecting him to repeat calls for calm and restraints that we've heard from others from elsewhere. Now, Biden has been continuing the work of his predecessor, Donald Trump, the Abraham Accords, which saw the normalization of ties between several Arab nations and Israel. They include Bahrain, Morocco, and the United Arab Emirates. One of the latest countries he was trying to get signed up to that was Saudi Arabia, which was proving difficult, and that is likely to prove even more difficult in the wake of this attack on from the Gaza Strip. Now, to secure that deal for Saudi Arabia, the US was trying to get concessions from Israel towards the Palestinians, including a halt to the settlements being built, as well as a preservation of the possibility of a two-state solution. Now, those attacks today effectively will reduce any leverage that the US thought that they had over the Israeli government and able to get that deal across the line. For Secretary of State Antony Blinken, who's been quite active in the region today, said we unequivocally condemn the appalling attacks by Hamas terrorists against Israel. We stand in solidarity with the government and people of Israel and extend our condolences for the Israeli lives lost in these attacks.
Now, the Pentagon is saying that it will ensure that Israel has what it needs. What about their reaction?
Yes, well, Defense Secretary Lloyd Austin convened a meeting at the Pentagon today to discuss the situation and said over the coming days, the Department of Defense will work to ensure that Israel has what it needs to defend itself and protect civilians from indiscriminate violence and terrorism. That last line of his statement is what's really starting to grab people's attention here. The United States government does maintain a cache of weapons here, in Israel, and that cache of weapons is estimated to be about $1.8 billion worth of munitions. Now, that has depleted somewhat over the last couple of years because they've been taking weapons and munitions from that to supply the Ukrainians as they fight the Russians. So it is expected to be less, but included in that is ammunition, smart bombs, missiles, military vehicles, as well as a military hospital with 500 beds. Now, key to this is that Israel can request access to this stockpile, but that must be approved by Congress. But there is a precedent for that. In 2014, during the Gaza war, the US authorized the use of mortar rounds and grenade launcher ammo to be used from that cache. Washington itself gives about $3 billion worth of military aid to Israel, 75% of which is spent on American ammunition. So now, in 2014, again, during that Gaza war, they gave an extra $225 million to help beef up the Iron Dome defense system, but it appears that was simply overwhelmed this morning by the thousands of rockets being sent its way from Gaza.
Thank you to Fraser Jackson there in Washington, D.C.